shoulders, lean in the hips. You never cease to amuse me, Buzzard. You know, I might just stay and watch the good people of Battle Mountain hang you for shooting their deputy sheriff, just for the satisfaction of watching you dance the mid-air two-step, choking. The outlaw told Mannion to do something physically impossible to himself. Mannion laughed and then dragged the man over to a tree and tied him to it, wrapping the rope around the tree and the man's chest several times. Buzzard groaned. "That's too tight, Joe. I can't hardly draw a breath." "Good." As it was late in the day and the shadows were growing long, Mannion stripped the tack off Buzzard's steel dust and his own bay, Red, and set up camp. Nearly an hour later, he had a fire burning and had hung his dented, fire-blackened coffee pot over the flames from an iron tripod. He fixed some beans and bacon and gave some to his undeserving prisoner, along with a cup of piping hot mud. It was dusk by the time the men finished their meal. Mannion hauled the dishes down to a little stream to clean them, and then settled back against his saddle to watch the sun slide down the far side of the Black Range in the west. Buzzard asked for another cup of coffee. Mannion grunted his disdain for the man, and then refilled the man's cup. As he did, he noticed Buzzard glancing owlishly, furtively, toward a near western ridge. "What you see over there, Buzz?" Suddenly, the cup blew out of Mannion's hand, and hot coffee splashed across his wrist. "Shit!" Joe bellowed as he reached for his yellow boy repeater and rolled behind a rock as the rifle that had shot the cup out of his hand barked loudly, echoing. Another bullet blew up dust off the heels of his boots as he drew them behind the rock with the rest of him. "Oh, hell! That must be Duke Alvarez," Buzzard seethed. "That greaser can't shoot for crap." Several more bullets came hurling toward Mannion and smashed into the rock he hunkered behind. The horses picketed south of the camp whickered and whinnied, pulled against their picket pins. Buzzard shouted, "If you fellas can't shoot any straighter than that, just forget it. Kill Bloody Joe when he's asleep tonight." The outlaw laughed. Mannion glanced over the top of his rock. He could see 3 hatted heads silhouetted against a stained-glassed sky. He triggered several rounds, then rolled out from behind his rock and ran, crouching toward several larger rocks and stunt cottonwoods to his left. He'd figured Buzzard's gang might try to spring the outlaw, but somehow he'd still let himself be surprised by it. That infuriated him as much as the actual bushwhack. Dodging more lead, he ran toward the ridge from atop of which the lead was raining down around him and hunkered low against it, where the men on top of it couldn't see him. Then he looked around until he saw a notch in the ridge and clambered through it. He reached the other side in time to see the 3 members of Buzzard's bunch galloping into the sunset, the rataplan of galloping hooves quickly dwindling until there was only the sound of piping birds calling a close to the day. Cursing, Mannion walked back through the notch in the ridge and back into the camp. Buzzard laughed. "You're wolf bait, Joe. Wolf bait, you hear?" Mannion walked up to the man, jacked a fresh round in the Winchester's chamber, and aimed the rifle at the man's broad, sunburned forehead. "Which one of us is wolf bait, Buzzard?" Buzzard's washed-out brown eyes grew fearful. "Don't kill me, Joe." He gave a half-hearted grin. "Wouldn't want to cheat the hangman, now would you?" "Nah." Joe depressed the yellow boy's hammer, poured himself a fresh cup of coffee, and kicked dirt on the fire, dousing it. "You're right about that, Buzzard." He sat down against his saddle, sipped his coffee, and prepared to stay awake for the rest of the night in case those 3 polecats returned to clean his clock. It was a quiet night, so he or the horses, or both, would likely hear Buzzard's men approach if they came. They'd make it to Battle Mountain town by midday the next day. He'd be glad to get there and then head back home to his family, his wife, the lovely Jane, his daughter Vanjie, and Vanjie's husband, Dr. Ben Ellison. He was a harsh man, was Bloody Joe Mannion.